The British Foreign Secretary is in the United States to persuade Washington not to quit the 2015 nuclear deal between Iran and the P5+1 group of countries. Boris Johnson is due to meet with U.S. Vice President Mike Pence, National Security Advisor John Bolton, and other senior officials during the two-day visit. No meeting between Johnson and U.S. President Donald Trump has been scheduled. The top British diplomat says that there is no alternative to the Iran deal, known as the Joint Comprehensive Plan of Action, JCPOA. He has also warned that abandoning the accord would be a mistake. That's just days before Trump has to decide whether to waive economic sanctions against Iran or pull out of the deal. Joining me from Ontario now is political commentator analyst Jason Unruhe. Thank you for joining us, Jason. Different world leaders have been warning Trump against leaving the JCPOA or the Iran nuclear deal, and even Boris Johnson is going there after Emmanuel Macron went there from France. Do you think that they will succeed in changing, bringing actually Trump to his senses?
Frankly, I really don't think so. I think that they've really made up their mind. The United States has to undo the agreement and try to force Iran to sign a new one. It was just revealed yesterday or earlier today, depending on your time zone, that the Trump administration had hired an Israeli intelligence firm to try to dig up dirt on people who were responsible for creating the Iran deal to begin with, and that he had done this in May last year. I think that definitely shows that there was always the intention to kibosh this deal no matter what. And frankly, I don't think that even the closest allies of the U.S. president can convince him not to do this. Trump has seemed absolutely insist upon ruining this agreement, falsely claiming that Iran has violated when they have certainly not. He seems absolutely intent on trying to build a new agreement that would place even greater restrictions on Iran. For example, creating new conditions, most possibly connected to Iran's missile program, to further undermine the country in the realm of its ability to defend itself. So I don't think we could really expect Trump to even listen to his allies. That's not something the United States usually does. I think that they've definitely made up their mind in this case. I think it's largely related to an aspect of the fact that Iran has decided to drop the U.S. dollar for trade and pick up the euro instead. I think possibly the Eurozone countries who see this as a benefit for themselves would like to just keep that. But I think the dropping of the U.S. dollar may have been perhaps the straw that broke the camel's back. It's hard to say because there's a transition from one U.S. administration to another. But I think in this case, it was very clear that Trump, given what we know about the Israeli business intelligence firm, hiring them to dig up dirt on people, that the Trump administration was determined to undermine this deal from the beginning. So I really don't see, given that fact, that there's going to be any admission by Trump that perhaps he's done something wrong and decide to take the advice of his allies and keep the agreement.
Right. And Jason, Antonio Guterres, the UN chief, has warned him against it and even warned of the risk of war, and so has other high-ranking officials in the world. What do you think will the consequences be if Trump pulls out of the deal?
Well, basically, Iran would feel that it had the right to pursue whatever technology it wanted to. I mean, if Iran's in the position where it's being told that it can't do certain things, and that if they live up to certain obligations, they'll receive X amount in return in terms of sanctions, etc., then what's the point of them even turning towards what's the point of even wanting to pursue that kind of path? I think it's very clear that the threat of war is something that possibly looms over the head of the residents of Iran, as I imagine as it does for a lot of people in the Middle East. I think that it's pretty clear that Israel is determined to make sure that nobody else in the Middle East could possibly be a nuclear power. And it was reported that Trump had told Benjamin Netanyahu when he visited him last year in Jerusalem before declaring Al-Quds the capital, that he would make sure that Iran would never have a nuclear weapon. And I think given many many of the murderous actions that Israel has carried out over the past, that the possible threat of war is Israel trying to make sure that nobody could have any kind of possible deterrent or have any kind of firepower that's measurable to what the Israeli military has right now and the amount of nuclear weapons that they themselves have. So I think that there is a threat of war. I think that if this deal is not made and the nuclear armaments are developed by not just Iran but somebody in the Middle East who's capable of standing up to Israel, then we could definitely see an active Israeli aggression against those people.
Okay, appreciate your comments, Jason Unruhe, commentator analyst from Ontario.